September 1985 brought a cover that was strikingly red, representing one of this month's top 10 games, the text adventure Red Moon from Level 9. The cover mentioned a couple of other highly rated games from this issue, so let's see how they all rated. There are two games in 10th place, both with 81%. The first is a computer representation of a popular board game, Cludo, released by Leisure Genius. Multiple human players can take on multiple computer players, playing classic characters such as Professor Plum and Colonel Mustard, in this murder mystery with you each trying to identify the murderer, weapon and room. Crash found this version of the game to be pretty much the same as the board game. One reviewer rated it as good, but not really hyper-brill. Another reviewer found it an interesting simulation of the real thing that would be brilliant for board game fans. They generally rated it as an excellent transfer, with faithfully done graphics but rather annoying theme tunes for each character. Where it does lose out over the board game is that cards are displayed on the screen, so with multiple human players, people have to look away from the screen so as not to get information about other players' cards. It's a faithful enough representation of the game and graphically perhaps as good as you would expect from the Spectrum. The sound is pretty awful, with each character having an appallingly beepy theme tune. Not quite as fun as the actual board game, although the ability to have multiple computer and human players does give this game a certain something, but it's not one I'll be coming back to. Also in 10th place, again with 81%, is Codename Matt 2, the follow-up to Codename Matt reviewed in issue 4. This time the game was released by Domark, but once again written by Crash columnist Derek Brewster. Like the original, this is a 3D space shooter, with you once again taking the role of Matt against your antagonists, the Myons. Crash described this as above average, with the graphics being adequate, but not good enough to make the game brilliant, and a lack of sound. Like the original, there were many controls to master, and the instructions were a bit muddled, which didn't help. Crash liked the combination of arcade skills and strategic skills needed to defeat the enemy. Generally, they found it to be a little too involved to return too often. In my opinion, this is an improvement over Codename Matt for sure, but it doesn't seem like a quantum leap forward. By this time in the Spectrum's life, there'd been a number of first-person space shooters, such as Darkstar from issue 11, that were much more impressive. A year earlier, it may have been rated more highly, but it's good enough in its own right and probably worth a go if you enjoyed the original. In 9th place with 82% is That's the Spirit, released by The Edge. In this game you take the role of a futuristic ghost hunter, exploring New York, collecting and using objects along the way. Crash felt that the graphics in this game weren't too bad, except for the profusion of mucky colour clashes. They described it as a very acceptable game, being witty and fairly easy to get into. The sheer number of controls can seem quite overwhelming, though not all of these are needed all of the time. One reviewer said they thought it to be uncompelling to start with, but after 5 hours still wanted to come back. They drew comparisons with Dunderack, although with the graphics not nearly as good. Another reviewer believed the game added to the trend of making adventures more accessible. Generally, they rated this as well above average. It's a more complex arcade adventure with a large number of controls to get used to. The art style in this game isn't the best, and the graphics just look slightly basic overall. It may be worth exploring more, but the game didn't excite me enough on first impressions to really make me want to go back. In 8th place with 83% is Nick Faldo's Open, written by Mind Games and Concept Software, and published by Argus Press. This is a golf simulation based around golfer Nick Faldo. This game was released relatively early in his professional career, but he went from strength to strength, winning championships in the late 1980s and on into the 1990s. Crash found this a significant improvement on most golf games of the time. They described the graphics as colourful, smooth and fairly detailed, and the simulation itself as more fluent, enjoyable and realistic than others. They thought the game would be suitable for both golfers and non-golfers. The biggest downside they saw was in the price. At £9.95 this only rated 69% for value for money. Although I'd played first-person golf simulations like Leaderboard back in the day, I'd not tried this one until now. Although the top-down view is in no way anything like actually playing golf, the game itself is still fun. It relies less on the skillful timing of when to press a button, and more on your ability to judge the distance and get used to the strength of each club. I like the little animation when you take a shot, and will be coming back to this game again. In 7th place with 84% is Southern Belle by Houston Consultants. This is a simulation of steam train driving. You take in the controls of a King Arthur-class locomotive being driven from London Victoria to Brighton. All of the reviewers found this to be a complicated simulation that required a lot of learning to master. Although hard to begin with, they found that once mastered, it's brilliant. They thought it particularly suitable for those people who tend towards the mechanical side of life. They described the graphics as effective, but slightly jerky, the colour is limited and the sound is pretty sparse. Although I do enjoy a train-related game, this is more of a simulation than a game. Considering the game starts in London, there's not a great deal to see from your window, although they've made a good effort to represent Battersea Power Station. The main challenge of the game is in controlling the various aspects of your train. Unfortunately, there's not a great deal to see or do whilst attending to this. I like the multitude of difficulty settings, but this is really a game for the train enthusiast only and not the casual gamer. In 6th place with 87% is Metabolis by Gremlin Graphics. In this game you play a human that's been turned into a bird by evil aliens called Kremlins. You must recover a serum, find a wizard, and then destroy the Kremlins by causing a nuclear explosion. Crash found this to be a very original game that was entertaining and addictive. They described the graphics as up to the Gremlin standard and the animation is fantastic, but the sound is not very good. They felt that this would be a good game for anyone that likes making maps, and described it as great to explore with fantastic rooms. It's a smooth and well presented game in which you play quite a cute bird. In some ways, the animation and control of the main character put me in mind of Pud Pud from issue 15, whereas the map you're exploring reminded me of Paws from issue 19. The main problem I have with this game is due to the fact you only have one life. You can spend quite a while wandering around screens, avoiding other characters, with not much else happening, and suddenly you hit something nasty and it's game over. This makes the game oscillate between boring and frustrating, not a great combination. Still, the slickness and smoothness of it makes me want to give it a few more goes before giving up on it, so it certainly has some appeal. There are two games in joint 4th place this month. Both are Crash smashes, and the first is Red Moon by Level 9. This scored 9 out of 10, or a percentage score of 90%. In this game, Level 9 returned to a traditional fantasy setting, with you playing a magician who has to find and retrieve the Red Moon crystal to prevent magic from failing altogether. Crash found the presentation to be of the same high standard as Emerald Isle, although sometimes found it cluttered. They praised features that sped the gameplay up, the ability to type commands whilst graphics were drawing, and the ability of the game to recognise verbs and nouns from just the first 3 letters. They described the location descriptions as long, detailed and superbly crafted. They rated it as a highly competent adventure program which neatly walks the tightrope between absorbing plot and memory-guzzling colourful graphics. They summarised this as computer entertainment at its best. This was a game that I played back in the day. Unlike Crash, I didn't find it particularly good for presentation, using the Spectrum's default character set and having a style to the pictures that's not overly attractive. But the breadth of the game, the variety of objects to collect and examine, and the use of magic mean that this is a game that will take a while to complete. Another Level 9 classic for text adventure fans, up there with Lords of Time and Return to Eden, and in my opinion far superior to Emerald Isle from issue 16. In 4th place with 90% is Popeye, written by Don Priestley and released by DK-Tronics. In this game you take the role of cartoon character Popeye the Sailor Man. You have to prove your love for olive oil by collecting 25 hearts scattered in various locations around the town, whilst avoiding your antagonist Bluto and various other creatures pursuing you. The reviewers generally liked the large cartoon-style graphics, although noted that this did limit the playing area you could see at any one time, but they were impressed by how the game managed to avoid an attribute clash. They also noted that Popeye was sometimes slow to respond, and that this could make the game slightly frustrating. They gave the game quite a low rating for getting started, but were generally impressed enough to give it a Crash smash. Although Don Priestley went on to use this style again in some of his subsequent games, Popeye was unique at the time it came out for having such large, colourful sprites, very representative of the cartoon characters they represented, and very little in the way of colour clash. This was a game that I had previously played back in the day. I can't remember getting very far in it, but did enjoy it immensely. I can understand that some people may find it a bit slow and plodding. It's not always the most responsive game, but it's a fun arcade adventure, and the uniqueness of it is what makes it a worthwhile play. In 3rd place with 91% is On the Run, written and published by Design Design. This is predominantly a large and complex maze game. You take the role of Rick Swift, who has to clean up an area that's been contaminated by a spillage of chemical weapons whilst avoiding a variety of mutated plants. Crash described the game as an extremely colourful and instantly playable arcade adventure of the maze variety, with graphics that are neat and smooth. They felt that the design sense of humour really came through in this game, and that it was a game they'd still be playing after a couple of months. They considered it a worthy Crash smash. It's a good enough game, but by this point it feels like something we've seen before. From Backpacker's Guide to the Universe in issue 12, through Nodes of Yesod and Covenant from last issue, and even Metabolis from this issue, it's yet another maze exploration, shoot and avoid antagonists, and collect objects type game. Nothing greatly wrong with that, but it doesn't appear to have anything new to the genre, and I feel just falls by the wayside. I'd not heard of it until making this video, so despite getting a Crash smash, it just generally isn't regarded as a classic. In 2nd place with 94% is Monty on the Run from Gremlin Graphics. This is a follow-up to Wanted Monty Mole, with you again taking the role of Monty. In this game you must get Monty away from the law by getting on a boat to France. Like its predecessor, it's a platform game with you needing to jump and climb your way through screens, avoiding a variety of nasties. Crash found this to be a brilliant game, with screens that gradually get more difficult as you progress. They liked touches such as Monty turned the hand of the high score chart, and found that the game offered a great deal more than the original. They found this generally had excellent graphics, good sound and tough gameplay, but found the game playable and addictive. The ratings were consistently high, and the game received a Crash smash. Back in the day I played this more on the Commodore 64 than the Spectrum. Sadly, the Spectrum does not have the classic Rob Hubbard title music that's perhaps one of the greatest game themes of all time. As a game, it is similar in style to Wanted Monty Mole, and still has the same frustrating elements of luck with the crushers. It doesn't feel like a significant step forward, but it's certainly as good as the original if not better. Definitely a game to try out, especially if you liked the original. In 1st place this month is Highway Encounter from Vortex Software with 95%. This was written by Costa Panay, author of Android 2, TLL and Cyclone, also from Vortex. The idea of this game is deceptively simple. You control a droid leading a team that has to escort an exploding device down a straight highway. On your way you encounter mines, both stationary and mobile, as well as boxes and barrels that can help you in your task. Crash described the game as having excellent 3D graphics, ultimate type in both design and quality. They were very impressed by this highly original and excellently designed game. They found the gameplay fast and thrilling, the graphics quick and detailed, and the game absorbing. One reviewer rated this as one of the best games of the year, although were incorrectly overconfident that it would be an easy game to complete. A game that achieved high ratings pretty much across the board, including 96% for graphics, and unsurprisingly, a crash smash. Although I'd heard of this game before, I'd not played it before now, and boy had I missed out. This is an exceptionally good game. It's graphically superbly done, the main playing area being monochrome but with colours to either side. The gameplay is captivating. There's enough challenging there to make you come back for more, but it doesn't seem frustrating or unfair. If you've not played this, you should certainly check it out. It ticks all of the boxes for graphics, animation, sound, addictive qualities, and fun. If you have enjoyed this, please like and subscribe to see more videos about retro games from NorLogic Retro.